What's cracking, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Golf on Tap. Today, we're going to be getting into our final bets for the U.S. Open at Pinehurst No. 2. Couldn't be more excited for things to get underway tomorrow morning. A quick reminder, though, if you're watching us right here, right now, make sure to jump on over to the YouTube feed so you can throw us a like. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, jump in the comment section. Let us know who you're going to be tailing this week, whether it's an outright bet, a DFS play, the players in particular that you're going to be fading. Make sure to go and interact with us in the comment section. We greatly appreciate it. And also, go and follow Golf on Tap on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you may listen to your podcast. If you're not able to catch up with us live, you're still able to tune in on all the shows. As always, I'm Jack Bushman, joined by my right-hand man, Joey Ricotta. Make sure to go and follow him on X at Joey Knows Nothing. You can find me at Jack Bushman too. Show some love to the show's page as well at On Tap Golf. Joey, we got our hearts ripped out once again on Sunday, my man. Collin Morikawa, we were both so high on him going into the week. Me in particular, we talked about how I'm never one to really get Collin Morikawa right historically throughout his career. This was one of those rare times, though, where I was all over them, though. He was my headline bet of the week. He was my one and done. I love to hear that you were on him as well, because you get Collin Morikawa and Wyndham Clark usually in the right times, maybe not necessarily when they win, but when they play well and hover into that contention spot over the weekend. So it gave me great pleasure knowing that you were all in on Collin Morikawa as well. 4 shots back of Scottie Scheffler going into Sunday. In hindsight, even though we didn't get the dub out of Collin, we got, as much as we can really expect a battle with Scottie Scheffler, because if he went out there and shot 1 under, 2 under, I know it was a difficult course and that score was very, very tough to do. But we wouldn't have even got a sweat whatsoever. And at one point, I think through 6 holes, Collin was down 5. So he mustered up a pretty strong comeback. A couple of wayward shots really cost him, though, late on the 15th and the 16th. It was tough to see Scottie sink that 5-footer on 18 with the fist pump and just go, this fucking guy continues to take my money, man. So many close calls this year. Wyndham Clark at the RBC Heritage, Wyndham Clark at the Players Championship as well have been tough losses to Scottie for me. And now Collin Morikawa at Murfield Village. Man, Scottie Scheffler, the boogeyman, his 5th win of the season, continuing to make history, has already, Joey, broken his own record that he set last year as he's made $24 million on tour. We're only halfway through the major championship. Of course, what we're going to be talking about here today is the 3rd major championship of the year, the U.S. Open at Pinehurst No. 2. And since we've been doing the show together, Joey, we have both agreed that we like to see courses that test the players, the more difficult setups, what the USGA typically gives us, along with what we've seen the PGA Championship turn into over the last handful of years. We like to see the carnage, baby. And out of all the major championship venues that have hosted these tournaments since we've been doing the show, I don't know if any of them are going to test these players as much as Pinehurst No. 2 is going to all throughout this week, my friend. So I'm incredibly excited to dive into it with you. Very interested to see who you're going to be tailing. We haven't talked before the show. I'm not sure who you're on. I don't even know if you're going to be tailing the without Scottie market this week, as a lot of people seem to have reached that point now as Scottie's racked
like
up
that
win
idea.
after win here. I mean, people have done it. I'm not going to blame them. Personally, I'm going to make this my one last stand against it, man. I know the risk in doing it. I'm fully aware. But I'm just not going to do it here this week at Pinehurst. Personally, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Let me know your feelings ahead of Pinehurst No. 2 and your reaction to Collin's tough close call. Is it going to sway you into the without Scottie market this week, my friend?
No. I do
it.
like the idea. I do like the theory. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially if as much as people hate losing money, if you aren't betting Scottie like we aren't doing on a weekly basis. But it takes balls to make money, I think, at certain points there. You gotta it's risk versus reward. I think the risk meets the reward somehow still. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. In my head, it does, Jack. Like, I think I'm very frustrated, obviously, of the way that things turned out last week. I know it was a very close call. This is he didn't even he left the door open, and Colin Morikawa had a good round and still couldn't even force a playoff. And it's just
Demoralizing.
I'm still right there with Colin Morikawa. We talked about it pre-show, or we talked about it, well, not pre-show, but last week. If Colin Morikawa showed pretty good this week, and even if he didn't, this would be a great spot to jump in with Morikawa. And I'm kind of right there. I know we're not into our actual bets here yet, but that does not discourage me at all from betting Morikawa here this week, because I think we're still going to get a number from a guy that really looks like he's locked in pretty much all facets of his game right now, and it's not very often that we've been able to say that, at least recently, from Morikawa until this season. So I still really like what I saw. I think it was a great tournament overall. Obviously, we like the challenging ones, and it was awesome that way. Like, there was not anything easy about Memorial, so we can look at that and look at this week and say maybe it gets even more difficult here at the U.S. Open, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen with it being so difficult to hit greens this week, and just some of the unknowns that we're going to talk about, and with your course breakdown, and there's a lot this week to headline, a lot of storylines that we can get into. Man, could we just swap John Rahm due to injury being out and withdrawing with Scotty Scheffler like that? That would make my entire freaking day if I heard that news, and somehow miraculously, like, I don't know if Mother Cabrini needs to, like, touch him or something, touch John Rahm, bring him back to life, and then, somehow somebody else, like I don't know, some possessed
Steve Bartman.
Bartman needs to touch Scotty Scheffler and just get him out of here. Like, that would be awesome. I don't think we're gonna get that news here, but, yeah, man, nonetheless, I'm excited for this, of course, and, I saved a pretty big gun for the one and done, so I'm excited to get into that this week, Jack, because I do know who I'm taking. So let's
Oh,
get into it, man,
look
for
at you.
once.
Look at you walking into this week all prepared and stuff. Very adult of you, Mr. Joey
Barely.
Ricotta. Very, very well done. And very well done was Murfield Village by Jack Nicklaus. I mean, that course never
Awesome.
disappoints. And as myself, Ross, and Tony talked about on Monday's show, great prelude into the U.S. Open, man. Has only added more fuel to the fire in what's going to be an awesome week at Pinehurst number 2. Make sure to check out that preview show to hear more from Tony, myself, and Ross is our thoughts on Scotty Scheffler, and also a bigger dive into Pinehurst number 2. I'm going to break it down here a little bit for you all, but we do want to save a good chunk of the show to be actually getting into our bets. So, Joey, Pinehurst number 2, as you referenced, going to be even tougher than Murfield Village last week, which I think is awesome. That's what we love to see out of these major championship venues. And Pinehurst is certainly unique compared to what we typically see for the U.S. Open, mainly because there isn't that thick fairway rough that we always see. 4.5, 5 inches is typically what we see out of the U.S. Open. Throw that all away. It's sand everywhere. And, the fairways are rather wide here, Joey. I think they're actually the 6 widest fairways they're going to see on tour this season. 70% of drives find the fairway. But if you miss, it's, I mean, literally a coin flip up to the golf gods as what type of lie you're going to get. And then you get into the green complexes here, the turtleback greens that you're going to hear time and time again. They're running firm and fast, 13 and a half already on the stimp meter. And they're going to be very difficult in terms of approach shots because there are very small landing areas with your approach shots into these greens, and the course is over 7,500 yards as a par 70. So there's only 2 par 5s, an extremely long course. 7 of the 12 par 4s are going to be over 470 yards. One of the 2 par 5s is up over 615, and all par 3s are over 185 yards. So you're going to be hitting long irons a lot into these greens. And yeah, the fairways are wide, but it's still going to be so hard to get these approach spots approach shots into the spots where they'll actually land on the green, because everything just funnels off. And then you're going to have an incredible short game and the creativity to get the ball back on the green. And some guys who just lack that, you're going to see them pulling out the putter, the old Texas wedge. And that's even what Martin Keimer did en route to his victory the last time we were at Pinehurst in 2014. But you're going to have the full makeup like you typically need in a U.S. Open, but it is a little bit different. The creativity around the greens, I think, is going to be the biggest thing, because guys are just going to miss greens here. I think 53% of greens were hit in 2014. So, 1 out of every 2 approach shots aren't finding these greens. And you're going to have a lofty short game. You're going to see guys playing ping pong and tennis out there, going back and forth, rolling the balls off the greens. The guys that don't have that competent short game and chipping ability, they're going to be in trouble this week. And, last time here in 2014, Joey, we only saw 3 guys under par. So that tells you how difficult this golf course is. And I know modern technology and the standard player has gotten better. But this course is going to be so firm, so baked out. I did see they watered it today because, even during the first day of practice rounds, some players were saying they were a little bit dicey and balls are barely able to stay up there. So I think it's going to be a little easier day
Suck it
one
up.
tomorrow,
Come
but
on, suck it up. No, I'm just kidding.
it's still going to be the ultimate challenge. I personally think a winning score around -5, -6, something in that ballpark. And again, probably only a handful of players under par, and the average score per round is going to be over par for sure. It's going to be full-blown carnage. You're going to see a lot of terrible lies in that sand belt, wiry grass over there. Guys are going to be making triple, and it's not because they hit the ball into the water. It's just because of the natural elements of this course, the turtleback greens that are playing so firm and so fast. You're going to need to have the whole arsenal, but I'm really, really putting into a lot of weight in short game and creativity. You're just going to need to have that ability to play different shots and different shot types around here based on the lies you get, what the greens give you, and even just having the ability to limit or find ways to save bogey when you're possibly looking at double or triple. Those are going to make all the difference here, because guys are going to make bogey. Guys are going to drop shots, but limiting the damage is really what it's all about. So those are things I'm weighing into, as well as, the typical long iron approach shots, greens and regulation. Even though I do think, a lot of guys are going to be hitting fairways here because the fairway is wide. I would prefer total driving over just pure bombing necessarily, because, man, 1 or 2 wayward drives that are off the planet can completely ruin your round. And again, it's just all about limiting the damage around this place. So that's kind of the stuff I'm looking at. And as far as some comp courses, I think Augusta National, just because of the creativity needed around those greens, is definitely a place to look at, as well as TPC Sawgrass. In 2014, basically everyone at the top of the leaderboard had won at TPC Sawgrass or had high-end finishes there. And I think it's just another type of course where you need to have that creativity and ability to play different types of shots. And Donald Ross actually has had a lot of influence on Pete Dye's courses. So there's some similarities in kind of the layouts and the green structures and how you have to play around the green shot. So those are kinds of things I'm looking at, as well as previous U.S. Opens. Congaree, I know that was a long time ago when Rory McIlroy won there, but that was a sandbelt type of course. I've heard Aaron Hills a handful of years ago is a potential course that played a little bit like this in spots, but it is its own unique type of thing. And I think there are just nuances that make it a little bit tricky to parse through this betting board and exactly think about who's going to play well, because you just don't see courses like this. And yeah, some guys are playing well, but this is just a different style setup that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to translate over. So I'm interested to see where your kind of mind is at in terms of this betting board, where you're kind of going. But that's kind of my rundown of Pinehurst number 2, man. I expect it to play tough, firm, baked out, fast, pure carnage, and it's going to make for an excellent weekend. I cannot be more excited to sit back, put my feet up for 4 days, and watch as much as I possibly can. Watch as much as CBS and the Golf Channel will allow me to do, basically.
That's always the thing, right? How much will they give us?
Right.
Of course, but yeah, I think you're right, man. I think this is it's gonna be so challenging. and interesting to see how these guys, who can get creative with it. And I do wonder too, Jack, like if being that it is so hard to hit the greens, if guys are going to try to get a little bit more or try to be a little bit more conservative with their approach shots, because they just don't want to put it in a bad position. And if also with keeping that in mind, that means that they're going to be a little bit more aggressive off the tee. But if that's the case, then will that also put them in a position where they're vulnerable and they start going a little bit wayward off the tee? So it's like, and then maybe put themselves into a bad lie just from missing the fairway because they're just getting clumsy, or not clumsy, but just trying to be a little bit more aggressive than maybe they should because they're planning on laying up with that second or third shot. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it, just with questions, I guess, like leading into this.
Dude,
It's how are they going to attack this? Really, is just how I'm looking at it, and you can think of how they're going to do it and how this course played last time, but last time was 10 years ago. I mean,
right.
and the golfers are just completely different now, and they're a lot better now. I mean, if we're being truthfully honest, like here in 2024, the game has evolved to a point where these guys are just so damn good at their jobs where, maybe, walking in here and I'm thinking like maybe this could be, if Scheffler wins, it might be like 4 under, and nobody else can get there because it's so difficult. But if somebody else wins, possibly, maybe it's at like 6 under because they just had an absolutely bonkers week and overtook them. Bonkers comparatively to like what the course and how we think it's going to play. But I don't know, man. I'm just looking at this. I think it's gonna be super fun to watch and see who can, at least the bogey avoidance, kind of like you said,
Yeah.
just avoid the big rounds. If you can avoid the big rounds and stay somewhat even keel and close to the field, you're in good shape. Because I think the average, what did I see the average is on this course so far? Is it like +1 or +2
I
that
think
it played like last time?
I thought it was 72 and a half. Don't quote me on that, but a couple over par for sure was the average score. Probably higher than that, honestly. Might have been 73 and a half even.
Yeah, so this is exactly what we want to see.
Oh yeah, it's right up our alley. And another little interesting nuance that I want to point out too, real quick before we dive into the betting board. You also have to be strategic. All of this, by the way, plays right into Scotty Scheffler's hands, might I add. I mean, he's won at
Oh,
TPC
sure.
Sawgrass, he's won at Augusta National. He's the most strategic player out there. He's the most creative. He thinks the game really well. He's super smart. But you have to be strategic here. And what's also interesting is like the proper angles and the proper setups into the greens. Donald Ross, while these fairways are wide, has designed that the proper angle or the proper spot where you want to be is towards trouble. So there's always
Mm,
that risk reward factor in every shot here, because if you want to put it in the right landing spot, you're also going to have to risk putting it in a terrible spot as well. So that's kind of the give and take of this course. And also what makes it a little bit challenging to predict what's going to happen. Like I really do think out of the US Opens that we've been covering on this show, this is probably the hardest one to put a finger on. I'm hoping I'm still rather correct going about this, obviously. But yeah, of course, we haven't seen in 10 years. Players are better. It's just a different type of setup, different type of golf course. Yeah, a lot could happen. So very, very excited to dive into things with you.
well, man, let's get it. Last US Open treated me pretty well, Jack. You
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
him at the top of the board, or top
Oh,
of the
yeah.
show. The Windy City Flyer came through, took down the US Open last year. Things haven't really looked as good for Mr. Wyndham Clark lately, and I have not been correct about him lately. Obviously got that green check next to it last year, but I'm not feeling as great about him here, um, this time around at least, or following back-to-back missed cuts. He, especially last week in the smaller field, and he's missed cuts in both majors so far this year. So
Yeah.
I'm not. The number's good. It's always good. At least it seems with Wyndham Clark. We're not going to start talking about the betting board with him, but I will just say up front, I don't think I'm getting to Wyndham Clark this week. So
Yeah. Don't see that happening.
very tough. But yeah, Jack, what do you say, man? You want to
Yeah.
jump
Let's
on
get
in?
into it. Let's get into it.
All right, we know who's at the top. Scotty Scheffler. Xander Schauffele, 10-1 after that. Rory McIlroy, 11-1. Colin Morikawa, 16-1. And then Bryson DeChambeau and Victor Hovland, 20-1. Shop around, of course. Gotta have somebody at the top is how I feel about things here. And yeah, Jack, I'll let you start. Were you doing the without market? I don't think you are, but who you got here?
No, this is kind of like my last stand. And my reasoning behind it is I'm keeping my fingers crossed that so next week the Travelers is the final signature event of the season. Scotty Scheffler has not missed a signature event this year. You're allowed to miss one. And he's been playing a lot of golf, obviously, recently. He just had a baby. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. He has a high end finish here this week. He doesn't win, but he has a high end finish. And then he takes a few weeks off to go and hang with his baby, go and hang with the family. That would be great. He doesn't play next week, so I'm hoping that I could avoid him there. And he's obviously already set up in a beautiful spot for the FedEx Cup playoffs. And after the U.S. Open and the Travelers, we kind of get into that stretch with the Rocket Mortgage, the John Deere, the 3M, the Wyndham, places I don't necessarily think we'll see Scotty Scheffler. He might play once in between there, and he's obviously going to play the Open Championship as well. But we're starting to get to that point where, fortunately, knock on wood, I think we're going to only have 4 or 5 more Scotty Scheffler starts in the season. So I'm willing to take one final stand here, but I'll tell you what, if he burns me again this week, it is going to change my mind for sure moving forward. And the people that are already there, I don't blame them whatsoever. But the top of this board is obviously intriguing, and hearing Joey say that you got to be on someone at the top as someone who historically doesn't like betting on the top tells you kind of all you need to know. I think you got to have one of the big dogs. And if you are betting Scotty Scheffler, 3-4-1, there's no gripe. There's no argument to be made. He's the best off the tee player. His approach shots are ridiculous. And oh yeah, he has the best around the green game as well. And I already alluded to his creativity, how smart he is, how strategic he is out there on the course, how he's able to execute these shots. Yeah, there's plenty of reasons to like Scotty Scheffler. If you're going to be on him, I'm not going to blame you whatsoever. I'm not going to do it this week, but I know the risk in doing that. Xander Schauffele, I will say, kind of wasn't really in the picture last week whatsoever at Memorial, but actually had his highest finish there of his entire career and did so without gaining strokes on his approach shots. And odds are he's going to bounce back in that area. He's incredibly well-rounded, really good bogey avoidance guy, has a good short game. The putters worked well for him all year long. So I like Xander. I just don't think I can get to him at 10-1. And then just Rory at 11-1 in major championships. I feel like I'm kind of done with those days. So I passed on the big three. Colin Morikawa, I'm going back to him, man. And we talked, if we saw any signs of life out of Morikawa, especially if he was in contention, had to go back to him, especially after, seeing Xander kind of have a similar path before the PGA Championship, right? Knocking on the door, but not able to close on Sunday. We've seen that with Colin Morikawa a couple of times this year. And while people are probably going to, point out the shots like I mentioned on 15 and 16, he still played phenomenal. I mean, he shot under par both rounds on the weekend at Jack's Place. I don't know if another player in the field did that, and the numbers continue to be great. Back-to-back starts where he's gained strokes and significant strokes in all 4 major categories. The short game especially. I mean, he gained almost 4 strokes putting, over 5 strokes with the short game. He's now gained over 3 strokes in that department in 6 straight starts. It's the first time he's ever done that. And oh yeah, the irons, they're back, and they've only been getting better. 3.2 strokes at the PGA, 3.8 at the Charles Schwab, and then 5 last time out at Murfield Village. Hits a ton of fairways. We know about his driving accuracy. We know about his iron prowess. And now he's added this short game touch and the putting ability. So I don't see how I couldn't go back to Colin Morikawa. I nabbed him at 17-1, rolling the dice with him again and just hoping he can get the job done and kind of use all these close calls as fuel and motivation as a learning experience to get it done. And how crazy it would be if Morikawa does win, nabbing 3 legs of the Grand Slam at 27 years old. That would be a phenomenal feat for him and would be justified based on all the high-end finishes that he's had really since the Masters at the beginning of April. He's just been racking up top 25 after top 25. So I'm in on Morikawa, and I'm in on Bryson DeChambeau, the guy who very Colin Morikawa-like gave me a runner-up finish to Xander Schauffele at the PGA Championship. And I know this course maybe doesn't set up the best for Bryson, but his driving accuracy along with his power at Valhalla was immaculate. I mean, not only did he lead the field in driving distance, he led the field in driving accuracy as well. He was awesome. Second off the tee that week. And kind of like Morikawa, the short game has just been getting better for Bryson too. We've known he's always been a good putter, but it feels like he's add that creativity aspect. I mean, we kind of saw it fall apart a little bit at the Masters. I never think in particular that's a great setup for Bryson, but it feels like he's starting to get better there and he's adding these arsenals to his game. And how many chip-ins did we see out of Bryson at Valhalla as well? And on Sunday, to go and make those timely up and downs, a lot of good sand shots. I think his game is trending in the right direction in all facets. And since he's kind of dialed it back and lost some weight and not just focused on smashing the ball as far as he can, I think he's allowed himself to be a little bit more creative and better around the greens as well. And we know he's a gamer. We know he's got that it factor, baby. Watching him on Sunday at the PGA, like, if you watch that entire round and you're not Ben Bryson, part of you has to be kind of scared because you know he's a fucking gamer, just to be honest, man. And he's so much fun to watch. So yeah, I'm all aboard Bryson at 21-1 and Colin at 17-1 is how I kick things off this week, man. Two guys up top. Got to go with big dogs though.
I hate that we are on the exact same guys.
Oh, baby.
And let me tell you why I hate this, because now as a show we have put ourselves in a corner.
Oh, big time. We've gone all in on Kawa and Bryson.
Because all right, here's the facts or the reality of the situation this season for this show. We haven't gotten it done for outrights like we did last year. We just have not yet to this point gotten it done. We've got so close. And we say this every week, so close, runner up, T3, runner up. Like there's a lot of this going on this year. And even last week with Morikawa. But you said something right there, Jack, about Colin Morikawa that I couldn't say more perfectly. We talked about it last week. If he showed us anything, or even if he didn't, this would be a great week to pounce on him again. And yeah, I'm right there now. He now has 3 straight top 5 finishes. Mentioning the short game getting better, the around the green getting better. Like he seems dialed in, and I think if there's a guy that can get creative with those approach shots, he's certainly that guy that can do that. And he's just when he's on his game, there's no one better, or there's not many guys better when it comes to the approach. So if the rest of the game is clicking, and especially if you're gonna absolutely, I think around the green and around the green and short game is just going to be that much more important here this week. So if that's going good, and like you said, him always hitting the fairways, like that's just what he does. This is a great spot. Yeah, go ahead.
Something about Colin real quick too. I loved also that he didn't sulk after the loss. Like showed a ton of class, let Scotty Scheffler walk first, and he didn't hang his head. And while he didn't fully capitalize on Scotty leaving the door open, he still shot 1 under in the final round at Muirfield and made it a fight after being 4 down to the clear-cut world #1 on Sunday. Like there was nothing to hang his head about. And even like, I know this is kind of out there a little bit, but even seeing like his Instagram post the next day, he was like making a joke about it. And I also saw an X from shout out to Matt Gannon. He was on site at Pinehurst #2, and he said he hasn't seen anyone that's been grinding as much as Colin Morikawa this week. Him and his caddy JJ have been like hitting every shot possible out there. So it feels like this has just encouraged him, and it should, because he is clicking. And not only might Colin Morikawa be back, like he might be playing the best golf of his entire career right here, right now. It's just being overshadowed by the greatness of Scotty Scheffler, which is going to overshadow everything. So yeah, man, I'm super excited about Colin Morikawa's chances this week.
It's just frustrating when you get somebody who, like you said, and he's so young, 27 years old. We forget that he still was kind of maturing, I think, this entire time. And you got to go through some struggles. Golfers lose their game all the time and gain it back. And that's, I think, and like you said, maybe he's just reached that point where he's finally hit his peak. And I hope that's the case, man, because I remember sitting here on the show, I believe it was in the fall, and we were talking about, what if he just turns it back on this year? and wins one. Like this is, I think we were talking about it in the fall, or we were definitely talking about it last season, how he was getting closer to. We were thinking this is going to come turn around at some point, and it has.
That's why
So
that's why you bet that future on him at the Masters, because we were talking about it in the fall.
we were,
We're
and
like,
and
he's gonna be back. He's gonna be back. He's just too talented.
and then the odds got me completely fucked. But hey,
He still gave you a fight. Still gave you a horse in the running on Sunday. It's more than I had. I had
he did.
still dead fish Xander at that point in time.
I think I doubled down on him too at the
Yeah,
Masters. So
that's
I
where it all
mean,
started for him. That's literally where it all started, because before the Masters, it was bad. I mean, missed the cut at the API, T45 at the Players, T75 at Valero. And I was there at Valero. He did not look good, and I was not encouraged by his chances going into the Masters. And he still finished T3 there. That kind of kickstarted this season, and just all parts of his game have been getting better. So we spent a lot of time here on Colin Morikawa,
yeah,
but that's just how excited I am about his chances this week. I think I like him more. I love Bryson's chances. I like Colin's better.
yeah, me too. I'm right there. I got him at plus 1862 on MGM with a little boost. So
Lovely.
I do like that. Bryson as well. Obviously, I won't get into too much of the reasons why. I'm just jumping back in. Had him for the one and done
Yeah.
last major, and so now I'm jumping in with the outright. I think there's a lot to really be encouraged by. I do still get a little scared about the around the green, even though he's doing really well there. It's kind of the same situation. If there's
For
a
sure.
weakness, that could be a weakness here.
100%.
But yeah, we will kind of segue off of the top guys here and kind of look a little bit further down. Not much though. Brooks Koepka 22-1, Luddy F Baby 22-1, Hideki Matsuyama at 40, just JT is at 40. Tommy Fleetwood is
Never
also
Tommy.
never Tommy 40-1.
It's become one of my favorite segments of the show, is just finding Tommy Fleetwood on the odds board and you just going, never Tommy.
Just never. Yeah, we won't get into it because we're not betting him. 50-1, Cam Smith, Matty Fitz 50-1, and then Sahith Theegala 50-1. So kind of a good group here, obviously.
Yeah.
Brooks is scary for me because I don't think I can bet two guys that are or three guys that are so close in odds. But give me your thoughts here.
Yeah, this is obviously a really good range. You could throw Victor Hovland in there too, because you could find some decent numbers on him. And obviously, people have been thinking about Victor winning a major all year long, and he's starting to show a little sign of life, even though things faded for him over the weekend at Memorial. I do worry about his around the green and creativity. I think he's a good enough ball striker and putter to hang. I just don't know if I can pick him to win. The thing with Brooks, man, is I don't know where his game is at right now. He had a great Sunday to close out Live Golf and backdoor a top 10, because I was looking at his stats through those first two rounds and it was a whole lot of not good. And his putter has been really weird. And he changed putters prior to the PGA Championship, and he was in the mix going into the weekend at the PGA Championship, by the way. I was on him. You might have been there as well. I can't remember. But that Saturday round, I think he missed 5 putts within 5 feet. And then Sunday had a pretty good round to still finish T26. Look, I'm never going to doubt Brooks's dog and his competitor and his ability to just find ways to contend. And usually when he contends, odds are he's going to win the darn thing. I just can't really squeeze it with having both Morikawa and Bryson DeChambeau. Obviously, he was really the guy up here, also with the top, that I was also thinking about. I just have some worries about his putter right now in particular. But US Opens, PGA Championships, he's a fixture to be part of the conversation. So not being on Brooks, especially after being on him at the PGA Championship and the Masters, I don't obviously love that, but only one start since the PGA Championship for Liv. It's not a whole lot to go on. So after not really being a factor in the first two majors, I just don't have that same confidence in Brooks. At the same time, I'm always scared when I don't bet on him in major championships. Luddy, I will give him credit for the around the green that he showed last week. Is he hurt? There's rumors of a knee injury.
That's
He
the
didn't
thing. I don't know.
confirm it. Possibly a torn meniscus. Again, kind of like Victor, I think he's just good enough that he's going to hang. I just can't bet on him at this number.
Hasn't he been dealing with something though over the last few
Couple
weeks,
months.
and
Yeah,
then
like,
he still did pretty decent in the last major.
dude.
So,
No, I mean, he missed the cut on the number, but he was obviously second.
or
He was the second at the Masters, T10 at the RBC Heritage, T5 at Memorial. Like, dude, his floor is incredible. Like,
maybe it was at the Masters though. We've probably been hearing about this for a minute, haven't we?
yeah, no, it's been going on for a minute, but he's still playing incredible golf. And his around the green looked really good last week, but this is a different style of around the green, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I just can't get there at 22-1, but odds are he's going to finish like T7 because he's just a world-class player already at 24 years of age. It's ridiculous. Where my mind went in this range, though, was Hideki, dude, because I've just been on Hideki for so long, and he looked so good for a lot of last week, man. He made a real costly double bogey on Friday. Same with Colin Morikawa. That really ended up hurting both of them. But his around-the-green game is second to none. He's first on the PGA Tour in that category. Kills U.S. Opens historically. Um, the putter is always, kind of the thing that makes or breaks Hideki. I could see his around the green game, keeping him in contention here. But as I said last week, I do worry about Hideki when everyone's on him, and everyone's on him this week. I usually like Hideki when no
I
one's
don't
on him.
like that
And
either.
he was literally the most tipped guy, according to Golf Tips Checker on X this week. So I don't personally love that. I think this is a good JT course. I actually do think this is a Tommy course, but I can't bet those guys at 40-1. Cam Smith at 50-1, I think, is a decent price. And, obviously has played well at Augusta, has won at TPC Sawgrass. Even St. Andrews a couple of years ago, the Open Championship could be a little bit of a correlation course, and he obviously won there. He's just another guy that I just don't really know where his game is at. And while his around the green sets up perfectly here, he's still always wayward with his driver. And like at every major championship that he's not winning, you always get that like shot. They're like, oh, here's Cameron Smith from the creek. Like he just does things like that. So he's random off the tee. I think 50-1's a good number. I jumped on Matty Fitz though.
Mm.
I haven't bet it yet, to be quite honest. I'm waiting for a boost. Hopefully someone will drop one tomorrow to maybe get him up to like 60-1. I don't hate the 50-1 number. And if I don't get any boost, I will bet him at 50-1. But dude, Matt Fitzpatrick is just one of those guys. The harder the golf course, the more intrigued I am in his chances. And we saw it last weekend at Murfield Village. After a pretty disastrous first round, he backdoored a T5 and shot 3 under on Sunday. And I trust his around the green game. We know he's a really good putter. And bogey avoidance, that's like Matt Fitzpatrick's bread and butter. Like the lower the winning score, the more he has a chance to win. He doesn't make a lot of birdies. He doesn't make a lot of bogeys either. And the approach has not been good whatsoever this season. It's kind of been hit or miss. I just feel like he's one of those guys, though, that has that creativity and that ability to play well out of the sand and avoid double bogeys and turn those into bogeys. And he's playing some better golf here as of late. So I'm on Matt Fitzpatrick at 50-1. Asking him to win is always a little bit tough because he's only done it, twice in the United States, and they've both been at courses that he historically has ties to. But I feel like this place just really suits his game, and I thought 50 was a really good number. So a lot of intriguing guys in this range. I'm only on Fitz. I do have a little room left to sprinkle on someone, but I don't know if it's going to be anyone in this range unless I get a really good boost. So it might just be Fitz for me. What do you got?
So, good point on Fitz. He also is a past winner of a U.S. Open. So,
Of course.
2022 took that down. Different course, of course. Different course, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought you were on Hideki for a second.
I really want
But
to be, but everyone is. That's a problem.
yeah, and I didn't really realize that either because this is a painful proposition for me already as it is because I just feel like I never quite get Hideki Matsuyama correct.
He's tough.
I just don't. I feel like it's just always. But I was looking at the numbers here, and we know how well he's played for the most part this season as a whole. Since February 10th, and that's 30 rounds for him. Decky is second in this field in strokes gained around the green.
It's amazing.
At the PGA Championship and at the Masters, the approach and ball striking took a little bit of a dip there, but he gained strokes in both areas last weekend at the Memorial, which led to the T8. So I'm back in on Hideki here, 45-1.
Dude, I've been on Hideki. I think looking at like his profile here on rickrungood.com, I've been on Hideki so much this year. I was on him last week at the Memorial. I was on him at the PGA Championship. I was on him at the Masters, and I was on him at Valero. I've been on him his last 4 starts, and I think I was on him at the Phoenix Open as well, and maybe even maybe yeah, I was definitely on him at the Century as well. So it's been a big Hideki year for me. So it'd really break my heart if I missed him at Riv and if he won here this week. And he makes sense, dude. The approach was great over the weekend. I don't blame you. He's been bet down to 40-1 is kind of the thing for me, and I just worry that Chalky Hideki kind of never cashes.
Yeah, no, I completely see why you're at least hesitant to do it. And I think if you do get a good boost, though, I don't want to tell you what to do, but yeah, I mean, there's a reason why you've been on him for this many times, this many starts in a row for him. So I like it. I do like it this week. And I think, I just think what he showed last weekend was enough, especially with a hard course, for me to be like, okay, maybe the Masters and the PGA Championship was a bit of a fluke. Not fluke, but at least he can do it. And I know it's a major, so it's different. It's a different animal, right? But
those are just things Hideki does, dude. He's just random as shit. Like, you just have to take the good. He's just volatile. He's all over the place. He'll withdraw. A couple years at the Memorial, he got DQ'd for having that like illegal paint on his driver head. He's all over the place, man. He's chaotic. You got to take the good with the bad with him. But he's not boring. Never boring. I'll give him that.
No, and that's what we want. If we're gonna bet, so we want at least to get some entertainment value out of it.
Right.
So yeah, let's that's what I'm gonna go with there. And I do like that you brought up Cam Smith at 50-1. A lot of missed green potential here, obviously, with this course and needing to get up and down. Who better to play around the green than Cam Smith? First in strokes gained around the green over the last 24 rounds. Driver and even approach does worry me a little bit. And you mentioned that with the driver. So both of those scare me a little bit, but he's been great in majors lately too. He's been very good on Bermuda and fast greens as well. So I know we don't exactly know where his game is overall, but I think it's worth a stab here with Cam Smith to me at 50-1.
No, it's a good number. And he's someone that if I can get him at like 60 or 70 with a boost or something, he might be the last sprinkle to my card. The tough part is, dude, his profile is so bad. Literally, it's red everywhere except for around the green. I mean, he lost 6.5 strokes off the tee last week and finished T48 in Houston. Live Houston, 54-man field. He finished T48, T63 at the PGA Championship. He's lost 11, almost 12 strokes ball striking in his last 2 starts alone, and has lost strokes putting 2 starts in a row. So like, I think this goes literally 2 ways for Cam Smith. Either he's going to be in contention because his around the green and putting has him there, or he misses the cut. No in between.
Maybe bet both.
Dude, his ball striking is terrible right now.
You know what you could do? You could pair together a miscut with Cam Smith and even Hideki Matsuyama and an outright with Scotty. How'd you know what I was going to say? Yeah, parlay the 3 of them. And what's that give you? Like 20-1 odds on Scotty?
I thought you were going to try to trick me and tell me to parlay Cam Smith to miss the cut and Cam Smith to win.
Yeah, no, I don't think we can do that. That's definitely a loss automatically.
They'll probably let you bet it. I bet they will.
Oh, I'm sure they will. They'll take your money. I don't want to trick myself though. Which is very possible sometimes. But yeah, Jack, no, I do. I think this range is just very interesting as a whole. Max Homa, 55-1. We got Tony Finau, 60-1, along with Tyrrell Hatton. Jordan Spieth, 65, along with Patrick Cantlay. We have Windy City, the Wyndham Clark at 70-1. Benny Anna and Sam Burns both at 75-1. So another good group here before we start getting into those like long range. I'm getting to the point here with like Tommy Fleetwood. I know this is not fair, but I'm getting to the point where I'm saying never Jordan Spieth, at least for now. Jack, help me out in this range.
How about him and Patrick Cantlay finally getting punished in the odds board for playing like dog shit?
As they should.
Cantley's 65-1. I still don't want to touch it. I mean, I had a happy place for him last week. Jack's place, he's won twice. Looked terrible. Missed the cut.
Can't do
it's
it.
not good. Not good right now for Cantlay. How about this stat for Jordan Spieth? He's won twice in 7 years. Crazy.
It is crazy because the talent that this guy has is unreal.
He's hurt right now for sure. There's something going on with that wrist. His off the tee is amazing. He's literally turned into one of the best drivers of the golf ball. And if you said that about Jordan Spieth like 9 years ago, you've been like, oh my God, this guy's going to win everything. With the way he was
won a major a year.
Oh yeah. So he's got to get that wrist fixed. It's not consistent anywhere besides off the tee right now. It's not Jordan Spieth. Yeah, interesting little range here. Feels like a lot of guys like Wyndham Clark, guys who have been contending in major championships or have been contending in the best events, but not here as of late, who have fallen a little bit, and you can get discounted numbers on them. I just don't really like any of these guys' chances to actually win the golf tournament. Tony Finau, I will give a shout out to. He gained over a stroke and a half putting last week. He's now racked up 3 straight top 17s. But do I think Tony Finau can win the U.S. Open? I don't. Max Homa, I think could contend again, but his game has been all over the place as well ever since, knocking on the door at the Masters. And we thought, the PGA Championship could be a good spot for him. He didn't have that high-end finish. I don't trust Max Homa to win a U.S. Open yet. Although we have seen, first-time major winners break through at the U.S. Open the last handful of years. I just don't trust these guys' games enough to hang with Scotty or guys who are playing at their best right now. Tyrrell Hatton was a little interesting. I think it's a great course for him. I just don't trust him to not lose his mind at some point over the course of 72 holes. Like at some point, he's going to get a bad lie and he's going to lose it. I love this course for him. I can't trust him at 60-1. I gave him a thought, though. I passed on this range ultimately. Min Woo, I will say, someone who's played well at U.S. Opens and at TPC Sawgrass, has great creativity around the greens, but his iron game has been all over the place this season. And even on this course, I don't think you can win the U.S. Open without having good irons, as good as his around the green is. So
he's an Australian, though.
That is true. And those sandbelt courses, I mean, there's something to be said about that. So I think Minwoo can play well. I can't bet on any of these guys to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you here. The one name that I looked at pretty closely, and I almost considered Minwoo, but I just don't see it happening. I wanted to consider a guy that you've been on quite a bit this season, and that's Benny-Anna.
Oh, dude! I mean,
I wanted
this to me. Don't do
no. I'm not I don't think I'm doing it. I don't think as of now he's not on my card, but I wanted to consider it. But the driving,
sorry,
yeah, no, you're good. The driving accuracy and around the green concerns isn't something I'm gonna go out of my way to bet for a guy this week, and that's the concern with me with Benny-Anna. So, but you are the Benny-Anna guy, so you tell me about him this week, or just period.
Dude, I mean, I might maybe have bet him more than I've bet Hideki this year. Yeah, no, hits the golf ball a mile. The approach has been good all year long. He hasn't been chipping well lately, but typically does chip well on very firm and fast golf courses. The putter hasn't been as hot as it was when he went on that stretch where he finished T4 at the Byron Nelson and 3rd at the Wells Fargo. I'm not as encouraged in his chances as I was a few weeks ago. And to win the U.S. Open, I think that would be a pretty crazy first win for Benny-Anna. I love his game, and I'm always a sucker for him, but I don't think I'm going to get on him here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes sense. I don't see this being the one. Same like you were saying with Tony Finau. He's had stretches of greatness here with certain aspects, but like in this type of field, I think you made the best point there too. Like we've talked about this in the past. Tony doesn't win good field events.
No, there's good players. Tony doesn't win.
He just doesn't. So yeah, moving on here. Sungjae Im, Cam Young, both 80-1 along with Minwoo Lee. Then we have Corey Connors 90-1, Dustin Johnson 90, Tom Kim 90. We have Russell Henley at 90, Sepp Straka at 90, and Will Zalatoris at 90-1. So Ooh, the approach, man. If we're
Corey?
just looking at approach, I would just love, love, love to be able to bet Corey Connors, but I don't
Dude.
like anyone in this range, man. I'm gonna be honest, flat
Yeah,
out.
no, I'm not that I mean, in the outright market, I'm not that intrigued. How about the Corey Connors 35-45 last week on Friday? My goodness, what a blow up out of him.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, man. I
I
remember you texted me that, and I'm like, yep. I don't know.
I don't hate it. I mean, dude, he hits so many fairways, hits so many greens. He's gonna have to chip and putt at some point in time, and he struggles at both of those. So I don't trust him to win. DJ, I've heard rumors that he's only been on his practice course like 4 times this year. I don't love that after he burned me
I
at the
don't think he
PGA
cares.
Championship. I don't think he cares either. So I'm out on that. Tom Kim is trending, but I don't want to bet on him to win. I'm really looking at him at Travelers and later on in the year as well. And even if he plays in the fall, he's playing some really good golf again. Hollywood Henley, baby, the models always love him. Hits a lot
Mhm.
of fairways. He's a guy who could finish T6 here. Like you look at a lot of the guys from 2014 who crept into that top 10, a lot of them were short game guys. I think, with players being better ball strikers now, that's still going to reign dominant. But there are guys who are going to finish in the top 10 because of their short game and because they hit fairways. Russell Henley could be one of them. And he's contended in U.S. Opens before. So I wouldn't hate that 90-1. The septic tank dude is just continuing to knock on the door, racking up top 10 finishes. He played so well last week at Murfield Village. He was someone I was tempted to go back to because his game and the around the green was really good last week as well. And he's obviously going to have to use that. And then even Will Zalatoris, like, I don't like where his game's at, but 90-1 in a U.S. Open, if you told me that after he had lost in 2022 by 1 to Matt Fitzpatrick, I would have been jumping all over it. So, again, there's some guys that are at good prices here. I don't know if I trust any of them to win, but if there were a bet for me down here, it would be Sepp Straka for sure. I think he's a better class of outside of Will Zalatoris, who I don't know if he's healthy. All those conversations. Sepp Straka might be in a different class of player, especially with Dustin Johnson now not being past his prime of any of these guys. So I like Sepp. Don't think I'm going to bet him. Maybe he's my last sprinkle. I got a little bit of room. Him and Cam Smith, those are kind of guys that I'm eyeing with my last little sprinkle.
Yeah, I mean, we would absolutely be losing our mind if we saw the Will Zalatoris
Yeah.
down here at 90-1, but we just don't have the Will Zalatoris this time coming into this major. So that's the tough part. Like what you're saying there, if your favorite part of our show weekly is Never Tommy, my favorite part of our show, it has to be the models love him, Russell
Oh yeah.
Henley. So
He's
I mean, I could get on.
pulling up to Pinehurst in the limo with the doves flying out and a couple babes around his arm.
I could get
Hollywood
on
Henley.
board, man. I could get on board, and especially with a placement bet, I think a top 10,
Yeah.
something like that. You're gonna get some nice juicy odds there for Russell Henley, and wouldn't be surprised if you have a good number on a top 20. I haven't looked at it, but I think that would be something I'd consider as well. So, yeah, like I said, nothing here for me. But wow, really intriguing, and you're never gonna believe it. Who I'm not on here.
Who?
I'm not on Jason Day.
Oh, no way.
Sorry to burst your bubble. Can't do it this week, and haven't been for a little while now. So
Proud
not
of you.
that surprising. Yeah, I've been holding my restraint. I've been gaining some patience here to.
I mean, his profile looks like Cam Smith's. This guy loses on his approach shots every week. It's literally
It's
all
ugly.
putting. He's basically Denny, actually. Jason Day's basically Denny
It's
at this point.
ugly, man. It's
Yeah, no.
ugly.
Can't do it.
Can't
How,
do it.
I don't
Bart
know
Scott.
how he finished T4 at Wells Fargo with this profile.
No.
It's like impossible. He gained zero point 0.2 strokes ball striking at Quail Hollow and finished T4. That's ridiculous.
It basically just goes to show you that he lucked his way into that pretty
He
much.
could be one of those guys that just short games his way into like a T9 here. Not competitive whatsoever, never in contention, but just T9 because he gains 9 strokes in the short game category.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna act like he's not here, but I'm gonna be watching, of course. Dean, PGA Championship,
The
Dean
Mista,
Burmeister,
the
the
Mista
Mista,
Mista.
the Mista guy. I kind of like him at 100-1 as like a little flyer, man.
Oh, dude.
He's been really, really good here. Like lately, he has been on one, and I think along with the distance too. Like Burmeister can do some damage on this course. I might consider that. Haven't done it. Am considering that. Alex Noren has been really good lately too. That's another guy at 110 to 1. I will tell you a guy that I have bet though.
Is it Siwoo?
Yeah, it's Siwoo.
Wow, is it really?
125 to 1. I'm taking a stab. Hasn't putt well lately on Bermuda.
Oh, you're selling him short. This guy fucking is blind on the greens, basically.
Oh, I mean, he has not been good, and he hasn't done well on fast greens either. So like just anywhere pretty much, but he's 20th in the field in strokes gained approach over the last 12 rounds. Across the board, very good numbers everywhere else. Off the tee, approach, around the green, driving accuracy, bogey avoidance. Like these are all things that we're looking at this week. And so I feel like if he can, that's a big if he can somehow find a way to putt, Siwoo Kim at 125 to 1. Watch this, though. Watch this, man. I feel like if there's going to be one guy that blows it late with the putt or it just something stupid like Mito Pereira for me, it's going to be Siwoo Kim. And I just feel it in my bones. He's in top 5. He's in contention. Or he's right there, neck and neck, runner up, and just something goes haywire for Siwoo Kim. And that's why he's 125 to 1, because you just can't trust it. That's what I feel in my bones.
He's almost kind of like a diet version of what Scotty was going through a few months ago before he figured out the putter woes. Like, I mean, he gains ball striking literally every week. He's awesome. He's awesome from tee to green. He's just so bad at putting. Hasn't gained strokes putting since the Masters, but like I actually don't hate Siwoo in the spot. I'm someone who like traditionally bets Siwoo at the Masters because I think that place makes sense for him and he historically plays well there. He's also won the Players Championship T6 at the Players Championship this year. I've talked about that being a comp course. I don't hate Siwoo. Like I don't think it's terrible. But man, he might have a field day playing ping pong on those greens at some point in time.
It's like, gonna be hard for him.
It could be a worry, but I think 125 to 1's a really good number on Siwoo, who's legitimately been one of the best ball strikers on the PGA Tour this year. So yeah, in this range, Siwoo was intriguing for me for sure. Keegan, I'd rather use him in like DFS. I trust him through 36 or 54 holes. He's going to be a nervous wreck if he's playing well on Sunday in contention. That's just what Keegan does. I love Keegan. I've watched him enough to know the more meaningful it gets, the high pressure, it's tough for an antsy guy like him. I love the guy to death. I think he can play well. Don't think he can win. Alex Noren, I think this course sets up really well for Alex Noren. Could see him finishing like +1, finishing, T11, T10 or something like that. Just not going to bet on him to win. I don't think his breakthrough win's coming at the PGA Championship. You know who I got to this week?
But okay, I know we've said that a few times this show. I'm not even saying I'm betting Noren. I don't know yet. We have said this a few times. Did we really think the breakthrough win for Wyndham Clark would be at the U.S. Open?
Wyndham Clark had won a designated event and outdueled Xander Schauffele in the final round at the Wells Fargo Championship.
Okay, I guess that's true. He did technically have and that was a big win.
Win. And he had been playing well, like, okay, I guess different players. Alex Noren's
it is a different player. It's a totally different. Well, and Wyndham's shown us a lot though over that time since then.
For sure. Like
to justify it.
I was on him, I remember, at the Mexico Open. Like, a lot of people were on him earlier on in the year because he had figured out the ball striking finally, and he had always been good off the tee and a streaky hot putter, which he still is. It's different than Alex Noren.
I just don't want to say that. The only point I'm making here.
Didn't you bet Noren last week?
I did, and he had a good week. Decent.
What did he do? What did he do that encouraged you so much that made you think he's going to win the fucking U.S. Open?
I don't think he's going to win. I'm not talking about Alex Noren here. I mean, I'm just saying there could be a breakthrough win from someone that we don't expect.
100%.
That's all I'm saying.
No, you're definitely right. This course, I will say, opens itself up to that. And there's so many question marks. Like, it's not a traditional U.S. Open setup. Absolutely. With that being said, I still think one of the big dogs take it. So that's
me too. Yep.
Who do you have down here? I have one bet in this range. And then that's kind of it for me.
Who do I have down here?
So we kind of wrap things up here.
Yeah, I know we got to get moving. Nobody yet. I honestly, the last person I considered was 250 to 1 Aaron Rye.
You fucking sucker. You just want to bet Aaron Ryan and Siwoo Kim, two guys that are going to play fucking tennis with one another on the greens. Neither
Look,
of these guys can putt to save their life. No, Aaron Ryan does make sense here. As much shit as I'm giving you here,
I just
he
can't
does make
trust the
sense.
putter, though. I cannot trust the putter, like you're saying.
I feel like these are good top 20, top 30, top 40 bets. Like I feel like these are guys like that we're joking about them in the outright market, but are good bets to bet in other way. So like don't take my
Legit.
laughing comments as someone who's watching this right now, or even you as like I'm dousing them. No, Aaron Rye like does make sense. Really good ball striker, but boy, he putts like shit. So that's like that's my winning comment. But could he finish top 30? Absolutely. Like the guy does that.
Well, that's really what I'm gonna do is the top 40 bet with Aaron Rye, or you could even go further than that. But I think safely, I feel like he's in that top 40 for me. But I don't see him winning because I don't see him making enough putts, like you said, Jack.
No.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
But I'll give you one prop here, and then I don't know. Do you have any other outrights? Actually, I didn't even ask you.
Yeah, I got one in this range, baby.
What you got?
You know who it is. Think deep.
Wait, okay, wait. In this range that we were just looking at, the 110, 120.
Oh yeah.
Don't say Denny.
No, fuck no, it's not Denny. Although I wouldn't hate him in like a DFS or a top 30, 40 play because he puts the lights out. It's the Weasel, baby.
Oh no!
It's the Weasel, baby. It's Brian
No,
Harman.
it makes sense. It makes sense.
Dude, I think he's quietly like a really good fit for this golf course. High end finish at St. Andrews. Close call this year at TPC Sawgrass where he finished T2. And even at the Masters, like gained a lot of strokes putting there. I know he missed the cut, but like I feel like this is a really good course setup for the short game that Brian Harman has, a guy who can hit fairways. And I watched him last week at Memorial in a lot of like ESPN Plus coverage. I forget who he was with, but I saw a lot of his shots, and I'm not kidding. Brian Harman, he lost 2.5 strokes putting last week. He burned edges on every hole. It just seemed like it was one of those weeks for Brian Harman. And I don't know, something about it just made me take note. Like, he's not playing as bad as maybe his profile or the results seem to be. And he still finished T33 last weekend. He hasn't had a lot of high-end finishes this year, but I think 120 to 1, a guy who I know has the stones in him, at least if he does get himself in that moment. Like, I got him at 130 to 1. There are even 170s that I missed early on Monday morning, unfortunately. I'm in on Harman's upside. I think one of the few guys out here, even if we took out the major championship win, like I think can hang in terms of, the strategy that he can lay out there. Yeah, he weasels his way up there, man. So yeah, 130 to 1, Brian Harman was the one for me down here. Don't hate Billy Horschel at 150 to 1 either. Just think asking him to win is a little bit too much.
I don't hate that at all. I want to ask you about somebody who's a little way further down here.
Okay.
Strictly because of his putting. Now, like and this is more of a placement question, I think. Do you think Thomas Dietrich has a good week this week?
Oh Christ. Let's see what old Dietrich's been up to. Guy just puts the lights out.
And this is very much going to be one of those, like, I mean, he could putt it from off the green.
He could. His stat profile's not loading for me. I don't know why. T41 last week, T4 at the PGA Championship. He's got a whole lot of red here, man.
Yeah.
He's kind of Denny. He's kind of Denny. Him, Jason Day, and Denny. They're all the same people. They're all the Spider-Man.
I don't want to hear that because I don't like Denny and I like the other two. So I don't want to hear that.
I don't hate a top 40 for Thomas Dietrich. I don't hate it.
All right, that's all I needed to hear. Mac Daddy?
He makes no sense. I used Mackenzie Hughes in not like a DFS pool, but I do one of these tier pools for one of my buddies that I do. I picked Denny, or not Denny, excuse me. I picked Mackenzie Hughes, excuse me. So I like him enough to contend. I like him on courses where around the green, putting, and long irons matter. They matter this week. So yeah. I'm in on my Hughes.
I think that's a good call. I think a DFS play for sure for him too. I might look at that.
Also, if people people want to have fun, there is one number out there that I think is just wrong. Where is it?
Don't even.
No, it's way down there. It's one of those, like, if you want to have fun, put $1 down. Gary Woodland, 750 to 1 is a crazy number for Gary Woodland. I mean, he's down there with Grayson Sig, Luke Clanton, who plays at Florida State. Like, they have the same odds. And I watched Gary Woodland play in Valero. Like, it was a lot of just short game. 750 to 1, I think, is up. One of those, if you want to have fun, if you're someone out there just puts $1 down, Gary Woodland at 750 is one of those. You just put $1 down. I mean, he's got worse odds than S.H. Kim.
I'll give you that. I think that actually is, if you want to have fun, I agree with that.
It's a bad number. It's a bad number.
There's actually a few of them down there with really bad numbers, though. I'm looking now. Like, I know Eric Cole has been nowhere near where he, like,
that's a bad example.
there's certain areas, though, of his game that I think would transfer really well to this spot.
No, you're right.
Like, there's certain areas of his game that I think could do really well on this course. And I don't, do I think it's all going to gel and he's going to win? No, absolutely not. But I think for 400 to 1, I would rather take that stab than like a 170 to 1, I don't know, like Ryan Fox. Like, I'm not doing that.
Tom Hoagie? Yeah, I'm out.
Even Tom Hoagie, yeah. Definitely
not. But I like Vic Perez also. Vic Perez.
Oh, Perez he's been looking good. He's been looking sharp.
I might bet on first round leader. If I have a first round leader bet, it's going to be Vic Perez. He's been playing great.
That's a good call.
He feels like one of those Euro guys that could hang here too. He's a good player. Man. Good player from over in Europe.
Come on, man. Martin Keimer.
Nah. Vic Perez is Martin Keimer-esque.
Yeah.
And he's going to putt. He's going to putt off the greens. He's been doing it the last couple of weeks. So
really call that the Texas wedge?
The old Texas wedge, yeah. The Frenchman's going to pull out the Texas wedge this week. Don't hate Victor Perez whatsoever. I'm going to find some way to have money on Vic Perez.
Oh, we got to find you a head-to-head, too. Bet you there's a head-to-head market out there in Vic.
Probably.
Vic DeSweet. All right. Yeah. You got any props, Jack?
I got nada. As of right now, I might have Vic Perez first-round leader, or maybe have a prop to get on him, or who else did I like from earlier that I was talking about hovering around? It wasn't Cam Smith. It was who was I talking about? Oh, Sepp Straka. Oh, I'm gonna find a way to have money on Sepp Straka. I'm gonna find a way to have money on Vic Perez. I don't know how exactly as of right now, but no, not too crazy in the props for this week.
I got one, and it's the same one I bet last year. So far, I'm gonna have more. Playoff to decide the winner. Yes. We're getting a playoff. What's that?
At what?
I have no idea. I'm just getting plus money on it. I know that, so I'm betting that. I'm pretty sure
it'll be Colin and Bryson too.
Oh, that would be so sweet, dude.
Should we bet Colin Bryson straight forecast?
Dude, yes. What's the odds on?
Yes.
What's the odds on it?
Let me look real quick. But we gotta get into one and done. I apologize. I gotta dip on out of here though, brother.
No, you're good. We'll look into that. We'll look into that later. Jack, who you got? You're up on me.
I got Bryson DeChambeau. I used Colin last week. If I hadn't used Colin then, this is where I'd use Colin. I've already used Scotty. I cashed in for him with a win. One and done's been pretty good for me recently. I got the Rory win at Wells Fargo, the Scotty win at the Masters, the Jaeger win in Houston, the Morikawa second last week. Alex Noren burned me with a miscut at Canada. In Canada, I'm still ahead of you, so I still got the first pick, but majors are worth double, so this is an opportunity for you, and you've historically been good at the one and done in majors. So who are you going to be going with? I don't think you've used Scotty yet.
Safest floor. No, I have not. That's what I was
saving him.
I was saving him for here, basically.
That's just great.
Well, dude, it's basically, this is how I'm looking at it. This is my head.
I understand.
Because I do not want to bet him at plus 280. I
used him in that tier pool that I have. That's my way to get on Scotty.
You got to be on him
in some capacity. You got to be on him in some capacity.
Well, he's finishing with a top 5, basically. We know that. Yeah. So top 2, Bryson's got to win for you to beat Scotty, basically. And I love Bryson this week. But yeah, I do really like Scotty. So I'm hoping, man, that well, watch me eat my words though come next week, because I think we definitely should do a show with Scotty probably being out next week. We have a good potential chance of getting an outright next week, Jack.
I would
So
love that. I would love that. Hopefully we get one this week. We can get the ball rolling. Scotty's not up in Connecticut. We can get some mojo going and finish strong to the season. I mean, for whatever reason,
you pick it up
dude,
this
it's
time.
kind of just how my golf betting has gone. Like historically, late in the year, the playoffs, and then in the fall has kind of been my bread and butter. So I nabbed the PGA Championship as my lone major last year, hoping it can be the U.S. Open this year. Last thing I'll leave you with before we get on out of here: Bryson DeChambeau, Colin Morikawa, first, second is 350 to 1.
We have to slam that.
And so is the Morikawa Bryson. So, all right.
And by slam that, I mean like
a couple bucks.
$10 max.
Yeah, a couple bucks.
Like you're not putting a lot on that. But yeah.
No. But yes, I'll have those straight forecasts in there just in case. But you got anything else before we get on out of here?
That's it, man. I think
right,
it's gonna be a good week. I know we gotta wrap this puppy up, and let's get an outright. A major outright would be nice, Jack. Let's
Need
get
one,
it.
baby. Scotty, please don't take my Skrilla. Everyone who tuned in, we greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you're still watching on the YouTube feed, throw us a like. It would go a long way. We greatly appreciate it. To everyone who tuned in, and if you haven't done so already, make sure to follow Golf on Tap on X and wherever you may listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's 100% free that way. If you're not able to catch up with us live, you're still able to join and listen to all of those shows. Make sure to give Joey a follow on X as well, at Joey Knows Nothing. You can find me at Jack Bushman too. Best of luck, everyone out there. Hope everything goes well for you. Hope everything goes well for us. We're more than due at this point, Joey. We need a win. It would be sweet to have one at Pinehurst, a venue that is going to have us licking our chops all throughout the weekend. So everyone enjoy U.S. Open week. We'll see you next week for the Travelers, hopefully without Scotty Scheffler. Crack 'em.